These consumers came and they had questions about ingredients. Beauty, personal care, and fashion are going to be the next to follow. When they meet our platform, I love the look of relief, excitement, and just almost like giddiness because it's like a playground.
Hello, and welcome to the Sayva Spotlight, a client-focused podcast where we interview founders and executives of some of our most exciting businesses to learn about their industry's value props and what differentiates them from the competition. My name is Johnny Kasayan, and I am the host of the Sayva Spotlight. I am a certified public accountant and the Vice President of Strategic Operations for Sayva Solutions. In today's episode, I'm joined by a special guest, Iva Teixeira. Iva is the co-founder and CEO of the Good Face Project. Their mission is to enable beauty and personal care innovators with their product development SaaS platform. The Good Face Project has done the research to protect your health. Their fact-based ingredient ontology brings present-day cosmetics research to your fingertips. Visit thegoodfaceproject.com for more details. And now we'll kick it to ourselves in studio.
Iva, thanks for joining us today on the Sayva Spotlight.
Oh, my pleasure, Johnny.
All right. So, you've been, you founded the Good Face Project a few years ago, and it's, really evolved over the last couple of years. Walk us through how you founded the Good Face Project, why you founded it, and then, where you are today with the company.
Yeah, the company was founded in 2018 by myself and my co-founder. Her name is Lena. She's also a girl. She's also an engineer like me. And at the time that we started working on the company, I had just finished a very, very large consulting case with a large beauty company based in the United Kingdom. And during that during that project with them, I had the opportunity to speak with exactly 116 consumers. And my job was to discover why they were not returning to repurchase the products of that company. And during the conversations with these guys and gals, actually mostly gals, I expected to hear the usual consumer study type of things. Give it to me cheaper, faster, better, less wrinkles, multi-performing products. And I didn't hear that. I heard very, very different things. These consumers came and they had questions about ingredients, about the sources of these ingredients, about the effects of these ingredients. And, they had things like, what is glycolic acid? Why is it good for my skin? Can I use it? Should I use it at night or in the morning? Can I mix it with vitamin C? Should I put it on my teenage daughter's face for her acne? If I wash it off, will it harm the fish in the ocean? All kinds of questions that I personally, as a consumer, never really had. And so to me, it was really eye-opening that all of every one of 3 consumers that I interviewed was talking about these things. And I was just completely caught by surprise. So when I finished this conversation and this consulting project with that company, I came back home to San Diego, and I started taking a look at the industry. I first, both as a consumer and as a kind of a strategic marketer, and I started looking at my kids' sunscreen first. I will never forget the bottle and the name of the product. I will not disclose that here today, but there were 71 ingredients on the back of the bottle, and I painstakingly typed up every single one of them, and I started researching them on the web. And I found carcinogen. I found endocrine disruptors. I found irritants, allergen. I mean, you name it, it was there. And I just couldn't believe it, because in my mind, if it was in a little pink bottle and it was sold at CVS, it was, safe. And so I started further looking into the industry. And not only did I find a lot of worrisome ingredients that I personally, as a consumer, started to have questions as well, but I also found that there was no good standardization of the naming of those ingredients. There was not one source of information where you could find what are the current scientific studies on this ingredient, whether it is from toxicology point of view or from human safety or environmental safety or cosmetic benefit point of view. There was not a unified source for this information. Of course, I found a lot of clean beauty retailers. I also found the hashtag clean beauty growing tremendously on Instagram at that time. It was still 2018. And I really saw that there is this kind of rising wave of attention of consumer inquisitiveness into the category. And I thought to myself, well, why is this happening now? What's going on here? Like, what's driving this? And then, because I have been involved in so many other businesses from the point of view of a strategic consultant, I could remember how the food industry got completely revolutionized in the last 10 years, right? You know, we started asking a lot of ingredient questions. And I myself, asked all the questions. I know which categories to shop organic from, which categories to not care about where it comes from, where I want it to be pasture raised and so on and so forth, right? And then I said, oh, of course, it makes sense. We completely turned the food industry upside down as consumers because it goes in our bodies. And I guess the next frontier for us is to revolutionize what goes on our bodies. And beauty, personal care, and fashion are going to be the next to follow. So I thought to myself, that's very interesting. Okay, so the industry is going to evolve in that direction. The consumers making the industry evolve in that direction. There is no solution that shows objective information. There are all of these nonprofits that all are on their soapboxes, and then there are the retailers that are turning safety information about ingredients into marketing. And I just thought, why not? Why not make a really cool place to go look for this stuff? And at that time, I met my co-founder, who I like to call my pocket rocket scientist. She is from Ukraine. She was a research scientist for the Ukrainian Space Research Institute. That's why I call her my rocket scientist. She's not very pocket because she is close to 6 foot tall. But when I spoke with her first, I told her about all of these problems. And on top of it, no standardization of the naming of these ingredients. So actually, beauty companies could hide a very, very bad ingredient under its technical name or one of its 15 technical names. And she just fell in love with the problem as a data science problem. And I guess the rest is history.
Wow. That's a fantastic story and backstory. So, you have the idea now. What'd you do next?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, having the idea gets you about 1% into the opportunity, right? And actually the initial idea is nothing close to what we're currently doing. The back technology, what we developed is really the golden nugget of what stands below our platform today, has been developed since 2018 when we first met. And that is really the largest ontology of cosmetic ingredients in the world, with over 200,000 individual names in it. And those names are understood from many, many aspects, cosmetic benefit, nutritional benefit, hazard level, environmental toxicity, human toxicity, you name it. It is there. As long as there is a scientific paper that points to it, and the scientific paper has enough of an N on it. Does that make sense? So everything that we have in our ontology is scientifically driven. So that has been growing, but how we decided to productize it over time has changed and evolved. So at first we were like, okay, we're gonna create this huge, like a Wikipedia of cosmetic ingredients, and we will understand everything that's possibly written by the scientific community about every single one of these ingredients, and we're going to nicely organize it with all of our beautiful AI algorithms. When what's more, we will keep it always updated. So right now, while you and I are sitting here, our algorithms are literally eating the scientific world of these ingredients and crunching through them and aggregating information behind the digital twin of every single one of these ingredients that we have in the cloud. Okay. So once we have this, we were like, okay, like what are we going to do with this? Well, I guess we can start screening products that are on the market and telling the consumers this product is slightly comedogenic. It has one irritant, but it doesn't have any carcinogen or endocrine disruptors. This product is extremely beneficial for skin brightening, but it actually has 3 carcinogen and 1 endocrine disruptor in it. And so we started with that. We actually started to spin up our website and our app, and they, until today, actually still support the consumer in their research of products on the market. Very quickly, though, we figured out that that is never going to make us any money, because even though in the past 10 years, websites like The Wirecutter, Best Reviews, Refinery 29 had succeeded at making revenue from referral marketing, that kind of already went away because the direct-to-consumer marketer became very, very good at working on Google and guiding the consumer directly to their website, as opposed to a website where the consumer would learn about products, right? So we very quickly learned that this was not going to be a sustainable business model, and we started going with our ontology to retailers. We said, well, we can screen all of the products on the market, or we can screen your catalog, and we can attach all of these beautiful tags to every single one of your products. So if it has vitamin C in it, then it definitely also has antioxidants. If it has coconut oil, then it probably will be a comedogenic product, and somebody who is acne prone should stay away from it. And so we started going to retailers and telling them, we can help you curate better your products for search on your website. You know, if they're better tagged, and if it's done at scale by just dropping your ingredient lists into our ontology and us auto-assigning those tags, then you can have a fantastic elastic search algorithm on your website, and you can provide your consumers, your shoppers, with much, much more information. And we had moderate success there. And actually, we were at Target, in the Target Tech Accelerator, when COVID hit, and also when we were working with the Target team exactly on that opportunity. And at the same time, we met a few product development teams in the beauty industry. And they said to us, you guys have a very interesting and very differentiated database. People keep calling it a database, but it's actually a semantic web. Can we start using it to formulate products? You know, like, could it just, if we dropped in some ingredients, can it start giving us feedback? Oh, you should adjust the percentage of this ingredient so that you can max out its benefit, or you should adjust down the percentage of this ingredient so that the product doesn't become too irritating. So they started looking towards us to actually help them model out the formula. And we said, well, how much money could that make us? And we very quickly arrived at the conclusion that that is probably the better business model. And that's when our cloud product development SaaS solution was born. And that was in March of 2021. So 3 years after we founded the company, we actually found our winning business model. And thank goodness we made it that far, right? to stay and really, really twist and turn it until we really found the sweet spot. And we launched our platform for formulators for R&D, for the R&D chemist, okay? And in 2021, and since then we have amassed many, many customers. Among them are the likes of L'Oreal, very established brands like L'Oreal and L'Occitane, but also fast-growing brands like Vegamour, like Hero Cosmetics, Odell Beauty, Kosas, Tower 28. I mean, I just can keep going. As well as their manufacturers and ingredient suppliers. Everyone across the R&D value chain in the industry now is recognizing us as the highest performance product development platform on the market. And if they want to cut down their product development cycle, then they definitely want to be using us.
That's just an amazing iteration of how the business model changed, and you kept tweaking until you landed on this. Mm-hmm. Now, despite the B2B being the revenue generating part of this, if I'm a consumer, I can also go to your website and type in my skincare product, right? And then see how it's rated or see the ingredients. Is that correct?
That's right.
Now, do you find how is that being used? Are you finding that you're driving a lot of traffic that way, or is it really primarily the B2B model that you're concerned with?
Yeah, we have thought very, very and still do very often think about, should we take that down? Should we just really, really focus? And something has always kept us away from that, what startups should always do is focus, right? But it has just kind of kept us away from this. And we even have an app. We have an app on the App Store. It has 4.8 stars on it, and there are over 40,000 users of it, and we have never marketed it. So that app is also powered by this data, clearly a consumer app. And so we have really always thought about, okay, why are we continuing to upkeep this? And our answer just keeps being the same. And I think we're just going to have to stop asking ourselves, because really there's the motivation that I had when I discovered this opportunity to create one source of truth for the cosmetic chemicals industry is still here. And the source of truth doesn't need to just be in the hands of the R&D chemists. It can be useful to the consumer. So I guess we will continue doing this kind of public service to the extent to which we can.
Yeah, it creates just great transparency. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you talked about working with the R&D teams at some of these major skincare manufacturers. So tell me about how the product development cycle has changed since you've entered the picture.
Yeah. Oh, wow. This industry, I mean, I could not believe it, because actually, if you look at the cosmetics industry globally, it is on track to be around $1 trillion by 2030. That's a lot of money, right? And 30% of that revenue currently goes to marketing in terms of budget. In contrast, 3% goes towards R&D. It's a very sad statistic. The R&D teams are, basically expected to comply with whatever the marketing brief has been written to basically address the consumer need. And they have like this box within which they need to fit the product, in a lot of dimensions. Under this much cost per kilo, needs to be compliant with the European Union restrictions, needs to be able to get on the Sephora clean shelf, needs to be good with all of the California emerging regulations, needs to be non-comedogenic, brightening, and also good for melanated skin. Tons and tons and tons of requirements. And these teams literally right now use Google spreadsheets and Excel to do exactly that. And what happens when you do that is actually they only stay within what's safe, right? Because they have found a formula that works before. So if the formula was for a squalane cream, maybe this year they will take the base formula of this thing and they will make it a prickly pear cream. And so that causes the industry to be less innovative than it can be, because chemists are just playing it safe because they have to go very fast and they need to put out new products, novelty products on the market, but they're literally copying and pasting from one spreadsheet to the next one, and it's really the same formula tweaked for the next marketing novelty. They want to be much more creative than that. They're all just like us. They're very, very into their own science, and they're very interested in progressing. And when they meet our platform, I love the look of relief, excitement, and just almost like giddiness, because it's like a playground. It's like a Canva for the cosmetic chemist, and they can paint with all the colors, and they can create new, amazing, exciting products that outperform everything else that they have done before. So that's kind of like how the change is going.
Yeah, you're driving the innovation in the market. I mean, that must just be so exciting to see these products coming out that are safer, and just really speak more to the consumer, what the consumer wants these days.
That's right.
Now, you talked about the European Union. They're leading. They're leading the charge in terms of safety and transparency around skincare and beauty products. How are the U.S. regulations, different, and can we expect some changes?
So the European Union has been the leading regulatory body globally on cosmetics because they actually pony up the funding, and they have created a scientific panel that takes into consideration all the new literature that becomes available on the safety of ingredients, not just cosmetics. They do it across many other categories, but also in cosmetics. This means that this regulation is mostly developed around data points that are scientifically created. And that's a very tough job to do, but the European Union does it, and does it very well, or as well as a human regulatory body could possibly do it. And unfortunately, the U.S. hasn't taken that approach, and the U.S. has not even taken the approach of following the European Union. And for a long time, for more than 85 years, there was no new regulation for cosmetics. Basically, the regulation that asked people to not use tar in pencils, eye pencils, back 85 years ago. That's when the FDA was actually funded and created, and it was given the mandate to regulate cosmetics. That was the first regulation, and we just received a new one this year that is called MOCRA, the Modernization of Cosmetic Regulation Act. And what MOCRA does is it doesn't necessarily make it very easy for the beauty industry or actually for the consumer, because our lawmakers did not decide to look into ingredient classes that are proven toxins and to mandate lower percent cutoffs for them, or to completely not allow them in products. Instead of doing that, they said, well, if a consumer files a claim for adverse reaction, then we give the FDA the right to do a mandatory recall of all of the products of that company. So basically, no guidance, right? but a very, very big whip at the end of the road. And with that, brands are now kind of scrambling to figure out what to do, how to protect themselves, because sometimes, even the best products can cause unexpected reactions on individuals, and it may very well be warranted or not. And the extent to which your livelihood as a brand now is in the hands of consumers, and the FDA just completely exploded, while not actually having more guardrails for you to actually comply with requirements. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. It seems like the root problem hasn't really been addressed.
No.
It's just going to end up in more litigation.
Exactly.
Most likely. Yeah.
Exactly. And much more fear for mandatory recalls done by the FDA. There are some other clauses that potentially, if the FDA makes movement forward to state what are allergen, what are irritants, and how they will regulate fragrance as a component in those products, may provide guardrails to the companies, but the FDA needs to decide on those in 2024. But it actually, immediately in early 2024, it will be given the opportunity to begin doing mandatory recalls.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, that seems like it will definitely be a bit of a disruptor. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing that, the major beauty companies are voluntarily being EU compliant, even though they're selling in the US, and using that as a selling differentiator?
In the past, companies used to have local formulas, because a local formula for the US could definitely be cheaper if it's made not up to European Union standards. And that was also the case for Asia and many other markets like South America. However, as of maybe a couple of years ago, everyone, with the exception of the US, has actually started to really keep pace with the European Union regulations. Huge movement forward in Korea, Japan, China, Australia. A lot of countries in Mercosur also adopting huge parts of the European Union restrictions. And so now companies are starting to say, okay, if I have to be producing products for all of these markets, there's no longer that cost, opportunity to actually put the cheaper goop inside of the bottle. And so they have started really adopting the approach of creating globally compliant formulas. And in most cases, creating a globally compliant formula means complying with the European Union and with some tweaks to other countries. There are, of course, a lot of registration aspects to every single market. But really this year, and maybe starting since last year, companies are on this trend of, we will have one super good globally compliant formula that extends their product life cycle, but it also extends their R&D cycle. They need to spend more time, tweaking and making everything just right so that they can have that globally compliant formula. And we can help with that. And then they can have the fruit of having a longer life cycle globally as well.
Well, it seems like the shift is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, eventually we'll get there.
Yep.
All right. So, this past year, what's been the biggest operational changes or decisions you've made, as the Good Face project continues to evolve?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was actually a very, very big strategic change that we made, which was we raised our very first price round by a very, very good investor called VMG. It's an investor that invests in beauty brands on the private equity side, and they invest as a VC fund of a VMG Catalyst into companies and technologies, SaaS technologies that empower brands. So that's us. And they led our round. We have a few beauty company strategics in it. And that, quite frankly, has been one of the catalysts for our growth as well, or like what has continued to present our value proposition to a broader community of brands, definitely in the United States, and now also in a lot in Europe and Asia. And with that comes also the beauty of having to scale a fast-growing team, and really like the big place where we operationally are paying a lot of focus right now is our customer success processes that take a valuable, base of customers paying subscription fees every month, every year, and then continuing to increase the value of our relationships with them. So that's extremely important, because if you continue adding customers but you lose them at the same time,
Sure.
And or you're not able to continue expanding what they do on your platform and increasing the value of that customer, the lifetime value of that customer, then you don't really have a very good business. So those are the operational things that we're working through right now.
Yeah, just focusing on the customer lifetime value, and not having, churn offset new customer growth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations on the fundraising round. That's so exciting and quite an accomplishment.
Thank you.
All right. So, we're going to get close to wrapping this up. Let's pivot to some San Diego things. We're a San Diego podcast, Sayva Solutions, the Good Face Project, both San Diego companies. So give me the first thing that comes to mind. What's your favorite taco shop?
Well, the taco shop. It is the one.
I agree with you. Fantastic. All right. Bar or restaurant?
Catania in La Jolla Village.
Catania. Okay.
You have to have the octopus there.
Okay.
It's like, hands down, the best octopus ever.
I love octopus, so I'm gonna write this down. All right. Favorite beach?
Favorite beach? I think La Jolla Shores.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I just really like to walk all the way past the pier. Like all the way.
It's picturesque.
Yeah.
All right. Brewery or winery?
That's a tough one. We haven't actually done a lot. I think I probably am the worst person to talk about that. I can talk a lot about Napa, but not local brewery.
All right, fair enough. Do you hike or?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we actually also have a small home in Escondido, and my kids and I and my husband love to go hiking around there. Potato Chip Rock, like all of that area. Yeah.
Yep, that's a great one. All right, last question. When you're with your family, the kids, where's your go-to spot in San Diego?
Go-to spot? You know what? My go-to spot is every morning I walk my puppy. She's not a puppy anymore, but she's very small. We walk to Bird Rock. I live in Bird Rock, and we walk to the actual Bird Rock, and then we walk up down, I guess, towards PB, and we make a big loop, and then we get home, and we're both tired and happy.
I love that area. Yeah. That's a great way to start your day.
Mm-hmm.
You might maybe stop at Bird Rock Roasters, on the way sometimes.
Exactly. Yep. It's like 3 minutes away from my house.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. One final question. What can we expect from the Good Face Project in 2023?
Wow, stellar growth. And, by the end of the year, we should be ready for our next round. And so we have our nose to the grindstone, and our goals right ahead of us. And so we're set to obliterate them.
All right. Well, it's really exciting. Congratulations again. Thank you so much, and best of luck this year.
Thank you so much for having me.